Today's presentation of the Index of Sustainability of Civil Society. Our guests are Maria Geletiy, head of the Index of Stability of Civil Society Organizations Research in Ukraine, Maksym Latsyba, advocacy advisor, head of USAID project Citizens in Action, Volodymyr Sheygus, expert of organizational development, executive director of the Initiative Center for Promotion of Activity and Development, Public Unity, and Oleksandr Ravchev, Communications Manager, Ukrainian Center for Independent Political Research. Welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being with us today. And we're going to present the Index of Sustainability of Civil Society, and we thank our speakers who found time to tell us about this research, and we are going to present the main aspects, and then we're going to discuss this research and the situation with these indicators. Now I give the floor to the person who was responsible for this research, Maria Geletiy, in order that she presents the main positions of this research. Thank you, Alexander. Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm going to tell you about the methodology and about the research and how it was prepared in order to understand how some indicators were put. On the whole, when we are speaking about the index of sustainability of civil society, we take the broader circle of organizations, not only charity organizations, but also the organizations that are non-governmental, that work for the benefit of society. This can be trade unions and creative associations. This year, 17 experts participated in this research. They represent different organizations, civil society organizations, and analytical centers experts, and scientific institution experts. Also, they presented all the aspects such as sustainability of CSOs, legal, environmental, organizational capacity, financial viability, advocacy, service provision, infrastructure, and public image. The experts assessed using this scale from 1 to 7. 1 is the best. This is the best figure, and 7 is the worst indicator. On the whole, the stability is viewed from 1 to 3 as the enhanced sustainability. From 3 to 5 is sustainability evolving, and from 5 to 7, sustainability impeded. So we are in the middle, and this is good. And also the experts had the opportunity, when they got the questionnaire, they were able to put their own scores. Then we had the meeting and we discussed the assessment. And also the experts were able to ground their assessment in the areas. And later on, we took decision by consensus in these areas and in the sectors on the whole. Also, I would like to tell you about the regional report. It is not only in Ukraine, it is prepared in 71 countries, and it is financed by USAID, and now this index is provided by Ukrainian Center for Political Studies, and Ukraine has a rather good indicator. And Ukraine is in Eurasia, and Ukraine has the highest scores here in this region. And closer to Ukraine is only Armenia and maybe Moldova. Other countries are lower, and they have less development in the sector. and also about the trends that we see. First, the narrowing of the sector for the activity of CSOs and the situation we see in the regions. And there is a negative situation in Hungary, in Poland, and in Romania. And the second trend is the discreditation campaigns against CSOs, and also some positive things, the reinforcement of social infrastructure. Also, about the development of other countries. If we look at the north area, Baltic states and the Visegrad countries, Ukraine is not in bad situation if we compare with these countries. And these countries are well developed. And when we are speaking about South, Ukraine is leading. Only Bulgaria has nearly the same level as Ukraine. So I will stop here, and the colleagues, those who were experts during the research, Mr. Latsyba and Sheygus, they took part in this research as experts, and they assessed the results that Ukraine reached in 2017. So as we see it on the screen, the situation improved compared with 2016, and so the 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, so this is moderate improvement. First, we would like to speak about good things, what helped Ukraine in 2017 to improve its sustainability. And then we will speak about bad things, what got worse compared with 2016, and then what remained stable. And first, I would like to give the floor to Volodymyr Sheygus to speak about good things, the indicators that increased in 2017. So, good afternoon, dear colleagues. Thank you for this opportunity to present the results of work of a big number of experts. So there were 17 experts, and also we had the opportunity to speak with our colleagues from different regions. And among 17 experts, there were representatives of organizations of civil society who work at the national level and those who work in the regions. And we had deep discussions where they expressed their views on development of CSOs in Ukraine, the organizations that work at the national level, and they carry out big projects, and those organizations at the grassroots level of local importance, and sometimes our views differed. And we tried to find some arguments in order to agree with the opinion, and in some instances to provide arguments why we think differently. And also I would like to say that on the whole we have very good indicators, and also we should say that previously maybe we increased them, and if we look at the overall picture, we have three key characteristics where the country is. And here we have sustainability enhanced, sustainability evolving, and sustainability impeded. And we have sustainability enhanced. So we are strong. We have a strong sector and a sustainable sector. And now it is difficult to fight for 0.1 or 0.2. So I was given the opportunity to speak about the components that have positive dynamics. So where the number of points decreases and tries to reach 1. And I would like to speak about organizational capabilities of SCOs. And during the last 3 years, we see and we reached conclusion that 0.1 improvement in this area was observed. Here we have several key aspects, and I'm going to speak about them. First, I would like to say that the topic and the idea of organizational development, this topic became popular and became a trend, and people understand this issue better. 4, 5, or even 10 years ago, people didn't understand what this organizational development means and why they should develop strategic plans, where they should put the indicators in order to analyze them further and how to reach them. And in the condition of instability, you do not know what will happen in the future, even in the nearest future, not speaking about 4 or 5 years. And now we have less discussions like this. And SCOs and interested parties, they have better understanding of the idea and the essence of the organizational development. And previously we had discussions, and I had discussions with the leaders of public organizations concerning where we should put our efforts. Now, they increased their technical capacity and they implement their mission better, they provide services better, they propose those services to the society and to their target audiences. What also to pay attention to the organization itself, to the personnel, to some bureaucratic components of the activity of SCOs. Some internal policies and procedures are also involved. Previously, some people said that maybe I should represent one more case in the court and not spend the time to develop my organization. And there was a dilemma. If you invest more in program development and if you do not invest in your own organization, then it will be difficult for your organization to survive in the future. And CSOs and charity organizations, they have the task to develop and sign strategic and action plans and necessary documents about internal policies and procedures, fundraising strategies, implementation plans, and organization becomes more sustainable because they do not only provide services to society, but also they take care of their organization. They invest in the organization in order to be powerful as a structure, as an institution. If your organization is powerful, you understand, and your partners, potential partners, understand that your organization is sustainable, that you have view, you have opinion, you have the system of internal control, so people trust you more. You become more interesting partner for those who are ready to support program activity of your organization. And we see that organizational capacity, the level of organizational capacity increased. So there is better understanding what is organizational development and the component of organizational development, and what are the approaches and the instruments that allow the CSOs to get the strengths. These are not only trainings where some representative come and deliver the training. Now there is a systemic approach. Now we are speaking about some mentor programs. One organization is supported in order that it became more powerful in planning or in strategy or in interaction of resources and so on and so forth. One more reason, I would say, of this increase, of this improvement of the organizational capacity. So there is a broad circle of stakeholders, and the donor community invest more resources in order that these organizations got access to these opportunities, and the people understand this more, and experts come to organizations and they help the organization to deal with some components of organizational development. Here we should note important programs supported by USAID and representative office of the European Union and the UNDP, SIDA, the Swedish International Cooperation Agency. Also, other programs also contribute. Canadian Agency on International Development, and also UN bodies. So it means the increase of organizational capacity, and it allows organizations to better attract financial resources and to work better with the partners and to be more powerful in advocacy and to deliver these advocacy campaigns, and in this way to strengthen the influence of the sector of civil society. And we should not forget, and here we have statistics, and you may see the whole text, the whole document, and we have more than 100,000 CSOs as of January 1st, 2018. So it means that people really contribute in this organization, and this is a powerful sector that influences on the development of our country. Also, I would like to note that according to the data and the statistical data that is in this document, according to the research carried out by the Fund of Democratic Initiative in December 2017, 83% of respondents never belonged to CSOs. So our sector, from one side, is powerful and big, and it grows up and becomes more influential. At the same time, the involvement of citizens is rather low. And I believe that if we speak not only about the members of the organizations, not only about activists, so the number won't be so big. But if we are speaking about who get the opportunities and benefits from the activity of CSOs, I believe these will be other indicators, and more people today are attracted, are involved in civil life of the country, and more people create their own organizations and unite in groups and organizations, or join other organizations, or use the opportunities that are provided by other organizations. So this is an important part, important active part in our country. So also we should note that organizations and their activities are starting to use more modern approaches in the implementation of their mission in order to reach the aims. And they use IT, and many organizations find ways how to attract a lot of people and to communicate with them. And people join the activity, and they develop special software for this. And I believe that in the next years there will be more and more people who will directly or indirectly will be involved in the non-commercial sector in Ukraine. Also, I would like to say about positive things. This is connected with positive changes in the index. The index that is called Sectoral Infrastructure. We see that this index improved, and last year it was 3.3, now it is 3.2, so this indicator improved because interested parties in the sector, they see that we need to deal more with issues of self-regulation, I would call it. When we start to get united in some microsystems and we create coalitions, we develop networks of CSOs, we unite more and more in order to achieve more efficiency and to be more influential. And when we are speaking about development of CSOs, we are speaking about the regions and small territories, and there are many initiatives and people who want to be useful for society and do really a lot for this, and they need the access to training, information, and to the movements that exist in Ukraine. And in this way, this infrastructure develops that support the activity of civil society, including in the regions. And the stakeholders and donor community, they invest powerful resources in order that the regions have organizations who may become leaders and help other organizations in their development, in their growth, and become the platforms in order that local organizations be able to unite in a short-term or long-term prospect. And there are many hubs for the development of civil society and resource centers and some open platforms where people can meet and discuss important issues for the regions, and to find the ways to get united in order to resolve these problems. And here we should also say about key players in the donor community. So this is USAID and the Engage program that supports the network of regional organizations, hubs for the development and support of CSOs, and in each region there are such organizations and the presence of the programs that support them, and they should be not just the resource center, but the hub, the organization that can help other CSOs in order to provide training and better understanding of the activities and to become the intermediary for some activities. And previously, a big investment was made by the UNDP, and they supported the first hubs So these are hubs for development of CSOs at the regional level, and they provided support. So institutional support was provided, and these approaches become more and more, I would say they play more role in the development and promotion of CSOs. The organizations have the opportunity to develop the project, to submit for the contest in the program, and to implement the project, and then to think about other projects. But now we have more systemic approaches, including institutional support, and this helps organizations to become leaders in their area and to provide and be supported in the long term, and to have all the necessary functions in order to use these hubs efficiently. So we will have the speeches of other speakers and also Q&A session. So first I would like to sum up your speech. So civil society in Ukraine grows, it continues its growth, and we should also speak about the conditions and business climate and legal climate. And we would like to hear from Maksym Latsyba. I would like to say that when we asked him to tell about bad things, because legal matters worsen, and Maksym said, I would like to tell about good things, not about bad things. But we asked him to tell about the bad things, because he is the lawyer, he understands these issues, and also there were other changes, so we give the floor to Maksym. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. First of all, I would like to greet you, because sun returned to Kiev, and I hope that there will be sunny weather in the development of civil society, and we all hope that legal climate in Ukraine will improve. So this index indicated that in 2017 the legal environment decreased 0.1. So it was 3.4, now it's 3.5. So the weather in 2017 was cloudy, but there was also some sun. About the main negative, the main cloud identified by the experts, this is the adoption by the Supreme Council, the law on the prevention of corruption and the introduction of e-declarations for civil society activists. That happened in 2017, and this law was put into effect, and the part of obligation started to act in 2017 about asset declaration and the changes in the asset status. So this was done in 2017. So these norms, they are vague, and there is a big risk that law enforcement bodies will use them selectively in order to pressure administratively civil society organizations. And there is broad and vague wording who these anti-corruption activists are, and there is also always an opportunity for harassment. So also the expert said that in 2017, President of Ukraine submitted 2 draft laws that significantly deteriorated legal sector. Fortunately, they didn't become laws. These are laws 6674 and 1675. They introduce additional discriminatory reporting for all civil society organizations and unions that have the income of more than $20,000, and this is the majority of organizations. And there are requirements of to publicly disclose information and about the salaries and about 10 highest paid employees and about all the agents from whom you bought paper or you ordered, for example, printing of some brochures. So this is excessive measure. And in 2017 and at the beginning of 2018, there was campaign and some laws were not supported, but there is still risk that this legislation may be adopted. And one more cloud. Experts believe that this is excessive pressure on some CEOs from the state bodies. For example, SBU persecuted all Ukrainian organization of people who live with HIV/AIDS, and they said that they finance terrorism, and of course this was not confirmed. But this was the means of pressure, because this organization monitored the procurement of medical equipment and medicines, and it was against corrupt tenders, and there was a lot big abuse on this tender. And SBU was not interested in fighting corruption, but it was interested in fighting this civil society organization. Also, tax authority started the case against Center of Fighting Anti-Corruption Action Center, but we believe that this was the element of pressure. So anti-corruption organizations, they fight for the fairness in the state, and some non-fair part of state power, they fight these anti-corruption organizations. And in Ukraine there are many honest and good politicians and officials and deputies, but unfortunately not everyone understands that civil society is necessary, and that in the state we should have the supremacy of law. Also, there was some good weather, and there were advocacy campaigns of civil society, and they promoted positive changes. And USAID supported, and other donors supported, and OEC also supported SCOs. Also, the loan registration of legal and physical entities was introduced. Now the registration takes 3 days, not 7 days, and the registration is free of charge. And local administrations and local governance, due to them, we have more than 750 places where you can submit the documents. So these are, you can submit them to administrative services centers and centers of free secondary legal aid, and this improved the situation. And also there were positive changes in the tax code. They broadened the opportunities for NGOs concerning financial activities. NGOs and other organizations of civil society may not pay 18% of taxes, and they could be involved in social entrepreneurship and to sell their brochures, social services such as and the profit that they get, it is not text, it may remain in the organization. It should not be distributed. It provides better financial stability of civil CSOs, and many organizations registered this right, and it is not widespread. And maybe this is about organizational development. We should help them to create the plans and to develop the social business. But there are some negative things. Not all state tax administrations took this opportunity, and there are 5 oblasts where they where CSOs have problems in establishing the status, and so half of tax administrations are for self-financing of these organizations, and half of them are against. So it happens so that, for example, Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, Zaporizhzhia, you may provide social entrepreneurship, and in Kharkiv Oblast you cannot do this. So you cross administrative border, and the tax code starts to act differently. And we hope that the Ministry of Finance will find this opportunity and will provide proper support to civil society. Also in 2017, there was a process of implementation of the national strategy for promoting of civil society, and the government adopted the plan of actions to implement the strategy, and until 2017, only 45% of activities were implemented. But this implementation continues, but this is a good instrument where CSOs may put on the agenda of the ministry and the government some tasks to improve legal environment, and this should be used. Also, there are some positive things. So the National Bank, due to the changes in legislation, they lifted the requirement when CSOs want to have funds from abroad, they should have a special license. Now they do not require this license, so now we are closer to Europe in this respect. About freedom of assembly, in 2017, the majority of meetings happened. Unfortunately, one issue is still not regulated. There is no separate legislation for this peaceful assemblies, and when the ambassadors of other countries support these meetings, so then it is allowed, and when they do not join, so they do not allow to have these meetings. For example, like in Lviv, they didn't provide the request for LGBT meeting, and then it was not provided. So everything depends on the presence of the ambassador of a foreign nation. So, so this guarantee of peaceful assembly, this issue is still on the agenda. Also about the positive things at the legislative level, everything was done to provide for SMS charity in Ukraine. Now the operators may provide these short numbers for charity, and you won't pay 20% for your donation, and 7.5 social contribution fee. So all money will go to charity or to a person who owns this number. So now these instruments should be put in effect, and there should be a proper dialogue between CSOs and the mobile operators, and the situation is not good there. Also, positive thing, in the tax code, they lobbied the opportunity to get more charity for sport, and business may donate more for sport activities, 8% from the income. They may donate this money to CSOs, those who support sports. So this is positive thing. So summing up, I would like to say that, as I've said at the beginning, so we have cloudy weather with some sunshine, and when CSOs are supported by experts and international organizations, so then we are able to introduce new legislation, new measures, and when there is some political revenge of some political class, because civil society organizations, they try to provide transparency and better living, and to provide better governance, and to prevent corruption actions. As it was said, in 2017, there was decrease 0.1, but this is a challenge for CSOs. They should reinforce their effort. They should get united and with new force lobby the improvement of legislation and the rejection of e-declarations for anti-corruption activists, and also to promote peaceful assemblies and participation of society in the decisions of the power at national and local levels. Also, I would like to remind you that the situation didn't change in many parameters. For example, financial sustainability, and if you look at overall presentation, financial sustainability is the weakest parameter in the development of CSOs in Ukraine, and this topic may be discussed later. Also, advocacy didn't change, but here this is one of the strongest parameters. We provide good advocacy. Also, provision of services didn't change, and public image didn't change. And as a PR manager, I would like to comment. We had a discussion about this block during discussion with experts, and we noted a lot of discreditation campaigns against public activists. But at the same time, we know from sociological surveys that despite these campaigns, people trust in civil society organizations. They believe them more than politicians or other officials. So we thank our experts for finding time to take part in our research and for their work. We thank them for their work. And now I would like to give the floor to our audience. Please introduce yourself first. Andrei Migel, Institute of Liberalism. So whether this index is objective, if you have different index in 3.3, for example, and 3.2 in your presentation, so there is different data in your Ukrainian version and your English version of this research. So there are some organizations that get financing and they do not declare them properly, and also about volunteer and ATO organizations. We have more than 1,000 unions of ATO participants, so please, maybe this is a mistake in the English version. The correct figure should be 3.2. So we are sorry about that. So whether it is objective, we try to have balance And we had different types of organizations, and both local and national organizations. And maybe we may consider it subjective, but we tried to present the views objectively. And when experts disagreed, we tried to continue the discussion and to find common ground. Also, this index was reviewed by the editors board, and they provided their own comments, and we found our arguments, whether we believe that this or that information is correct. So I believe that this is maximally objective. We tried to provide this objectivity. There were representatives of different organizations from regional and national levels, and I believe that we were able to reach this objectivity. So the second question, but I would like to add, we didn't invent this methodology. This methodology is used since 1998 in 71 countries of the world, and these are preset questions according to this methodology. So this is the question. Whether these institutions, international institutions, are able to create efficient methodology, but I believe this methodology is efficient. And now about ATO organizations, whether they influence these indicators. Maybe Maria will add, and I would like to tell you more about the index. Look, in Ukraine, we have 1,000 organizations. You are speaking about representation, but at the same time, let's not forget that active organizations in different, according to different estimates. So we have 10 or 15% of active organizations, even not, if not less. If we go to some oblast and we speak with local activists and organizations and representatives of power about how civil society sector looks and the number of organizations and what is going on, we see that this is 4 or 5% of active organizations and several percent of those who exist and operate, and some organizations periodically appear, and there is a part of organizations that are used for some purposes. Maybe we do not know about these purposes, and there are some inactive organizations. Maybe Maksym will tell you more about the process of liquidation of these organizations. So we have a lot of organizations, and there is high competition, but if we are speaking about active organizations that know how to be sustainable, how to attract resources, how to provide quality services, these are not thousands. And there are also some private foundations, and they have their specificity. So this approach of indexes and these 17 experts who carried out preliminary work and then discussions and so on and so forth. These are people who have big experience and many contacts, and I'm one of 17, and I work in the center more than 20 years, and our organization annually have 4 or 5 1,000 contacts with the CSOs, and we support each year 260 organizations each year, and we have many contacts. These are different organizations, and part of these organizations we live their life a little bit. These are small organizations in small settlements, and also organizations in big cities. 3,000, 100,000 or million of people are living in those cities. So we are speaking about collection of data, analyzing the data, and I'm only one of 17 people who took part in this discussion, the discussion of this index, and we have expert approach, and we provide our expert opinion, and then this is analyzed, and the direction of development is shown. So about the organizations of ATO participants, so there are many organizations like this, and now this trend is not so active. And in 2014, 2015, we saw a rapid growth. So many organizations appeared, they were becoming more active, and later on many of them started their operation. We may speak about the regions. Many people asked us for support at the stage of organizational development, and we supported many of them. But these organizations, they are young. They do not know what will happen with them in the next years. Of course, their opinion was taken into account. Of course, we understand how they live and how they are financed and whether they are oriented to support the international community or they attract resources from business and the local population. Mainly, they were focused on advocacy, active position in some defense and some protection area. Now more organizations provide some social services for target audience for which they work. But we do not have many of them. And we cooperate with those organizations who understand how they are organized, and we understand their audience and the resources, the partnership, and in what area they are active. And the index assesses 2017 compared with 2016. If you compare 2014 with 2013, you may see also the increase, maybe due to the increase of the number of ATO organizations. One more question from me. So this index is used in 70 countries. So Ukraine is in the trend with what countries? So we voiced this information in the beginning. I will ask this question. So Ukraine is at the level of such countries as Croatia, Moldova, Bulgaria. So we are far from Azerbaijan, Russia, Belarus. So these countries where civil society is under pressure and we are more powerful, more sustainable. Ukraine has the trend to developed nations. And of course, we need to work more in order to be like Poland or Baltic states. But we are close to those countries who are the members of the European Union. Do you have other questions, please? Good afternoon, Olga Azurna, Office of the Coordinator of OSCE projects concerning the development of civil society. I will correct Maria about the level of Ukraine and that it is similar as in Croatia. We didn't reach this level. We didn't have the national fund to support civil society like in Croatia. It has been working there for 10 years, and we do not have proper legislative basis to involve, except provision 996 to involve civil society in decision-making through the mechanism of public consultations. So I won't say this, but this is your opinion. And also, I have a comment. It is difficult for me to ask questions about the index because this index, it reflects the picture of 2017. And now we are at the end of 2018. So in these 10 months, a lot of things happened. And there was a progress in financial sustainability of organizations because the funds from the budget of the national and local level, they increased, and organizations were able to participate in the contest projects to get grants. And also about social services in this context. There were a lot of actions of the Ministry of Social Policy and the bodies of local governance in order to attract organizations to social support. So my comment is maybe the presentation of this index, maybe it should be, the results should be provided in March, for example, for example, you should have been provided this earlier in the year. If we are working with the development of civil society, 10 months difference, it really matters. And as I've said, these issues that are reflected and the questions that we can form, they will be based on modern events and modern development. Now, I would like to ask the representative of USAID to comment. So this methodology was developed by USAID, and it is financed from Washington. And unfortunately, the representatives and the organizations cannot influence the time when this presentation is presented. The final version of this report was ready, maybe it was ready 2 weeks ago. And this organization made everything possible to present this research once it is ready. And they provided this, they made public this research, and they provided this research and put it on the site of the USAID. And unfortunately, this is a bureaucratic process. We all know how it happens, not only in such organizations as USAID. So this is the collection of information from 70 countries and the schedule that is established. You understand that this is a big machine. And each year there is the same situation. We may recommend, we may express the opinion, but we cannot influence. No one can. So if we have, so maybe we may carry out some separate research or presentations and to inform civil society and the community about what is going on. Because the experts can do it in some they can do it in the periods, and they can do it. They can inform the public on time. But this system, unfortunately, works in such a way. This is not about Ukraine. Ukraine is not lagging behind. We may understand that this information is collected from 70 countries, and this is a huge book, you know. And So the final version will be presented after all the information from all the countries will be collected and compiled in this book. Thank you for your comment about Ukraine and Croatia. I agree that we do not have a lot of things in Ukraine, and this comparison is based on the index, on the main figures. And we are at the level of Croatia and Bulgaria. Of course, this is not identical, and maybe we do not have a lot of things, and we should work more and adopt more legislation. But we have the same situation in the figures. Thank you, Olga. I would like to tell you several words, and I would like to thank you for this question. So the increase of financing, the increase of state financing for SCOs, CSOs, and also the ETO organizations, and there was lobbying, and there was provision 156, and there were 2 contests this year, but the state provided 20 million hryvnias for all Ukrainian LTO participants, and only 7 million were distributed by contest commission because the quality of projects that were submitted is too low. Some of them lacked some formal characteristics. Some organizations cannot say how they resolve the problem. So all the veteran organizations that were created in Soviet times, they created better projects than the new organizations. That's why there is a big challenge for in the sector of organizational development, because these new organizations of ATO participants, they lack capability of creating such projects, and the money should be distributed properly. And our project, Citizens in Actions, help local administrations and local councils, and 7 oblasts, they have this support and others do not have, and by joint efforts we should convince local administrations to introduce these contests, because the heads of the administrations, they want to decide where the money goes, but we should convince, and we should teach the civil society organizations to write the projects and to convince the heads of administrations to introduce the contests. And the second issue, you've mentioned the order of social services. Here there are some positive changes, and where we have donors, and your project, I understand, it helped Kiev to carry out the tender to buy social services for 4.5 million hryvnias, and this is a valuable experience, and the organizations were selected, but the majority of city councils, they do not buy social services, and this is really bad. The Ministry of Social Policy believes that this issue was decentralized and local councils should deal with this issue themselves, but mayors, they do not say, say that they do not receive this responsibility. So who needs this service? These are the citizens, and the whole big market, this is the big market for the work of CSOs, because they are the main providers of the social services, and this is the challenge for the sector, how to convince local councils to start buying these services through Prozoro system, and at the same time, this is the challenge for the CSOs to create these services. So there are 19 services adopted by the ministry that may be bought, and we may provide those services. So this is a good question for Index 2018. So I would like to comment we didn't go into detail of we didn't go into detail in the issue of financial sustainability, and 2016 is different from 2017. And here we may see an interesting statistic, and we discussed financial sustainability, financing from international technical agencies. This help that these agencies provided, it doubled, and this is 40% of the funds of the civil society sector. So NGOs, charity organizations, and other players, they attract and they have sources of different kind. And a big percentage is from business, from private people, from state enterprises. And in 2017, the Ministry on Sports and Youth, it provided the opportunity to CSOs to get financing from the state budget and to get funds from other sources. We didn't go into detail about it, but we see that this is the programs of international technical aid and also significant state support of the sector. We do not speak about the mechanisms, and in 2018 we will have more to speak about the mechanisms. Also knowing about the activity of OSCE and also the ability of organizations to crowdfund and to work with business. And we understand that the CSOs, up to 90% of resources they get from the communities at local level. So there are such facts, and I believe that financial sustainability next year will improve, and we will wait for this. Thank you. So I would like to thank you for your remarks. Unfortunately, our time is up. If you want to ask questions, please do it off records. Thank you, and we thank Ukraine Crisis Media Center for the opportunity to hold this meeting here, and we thank